How's it going, everyone? Juan Romero here from Switchwatch, back with another review. Today we've got The Persistence. Now, horror is one of my favourite genres. I like it a lot. As you can probably tell, I've reviewed quite a lot of horror games on the channel throughout the years. And well, this one was originally on PlayStation's VR. It was a VR game, and now it's been ported to the Nintendo Switch. Now, they can be a bit hit and miss when they're originally intended for VR, but stay tuned, find out whether this one's worth your hard-earned cash. It may surprise a few of you. Let's get into it. Going into the Persistence game, I went in as cold as ice. I had no idea what the game was or what it was about, other than the genre was horror and it had been made for VR initially. As soon as I started the game, it gave me vibes of Dead Space and a little bit of Alien Resurrection, in that you're trapped here on a space colony ship and the year is 2521. The ship is stranded and malfunctioning and being pulled into a black hole. If that wasn't bad enough, the ship is infested with all sorts of aberrations which want nothing more than to tear your head off. You play as Zimri Eder, a clone of a security guard, and you need to make your way down into the bowels of the ship to repair its systems and prevent the ship from destruction. The only thing that didn't have me quite as invested was knowing I was a clone, and should I die it wouldn't really matter, as I would come back again. Now, that's not so much different to any other game, but being invested in a real life character for me with a bit of backstory would have had me a little bit more invested in the character itself. It's a minor critique based on my personal feelings though. Now, in terms of the gameplay then, let me get a few things out of the way. This is a roguelike first-person shooter with a mixture of stealth and action, where you can use differing builds dependent on your playstyle, but in order to upgrade your clone, you'll die quite a lot at first, and I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. While that may put some people off, there are some good things that the development team have done here. There are 5 main objectives, which will take you a good while to accomplish, but once you complete one objective, that will save and you will begin on objective 2 each time you resurrect, so you don't have to keep doing the previous objectives over and over again. Otherwise, that would just be a bit ridiculous. The game is quite slow to begin with, and your movement speed of the character will get a little bit quicker the more you upgrade. However, one of the things I wasn't massively keen on is the slow movement speed of the character overall. Now, as you begin each run, you'll collect 3 types of resource: stem cells, which are used to upgrade your character, and one of the best ways to harvest this resource is using your harvester. God, I love this weapon. It can be used for melee combat too, but the best thing to do here is to sneak up behind an enemy and then harvest those stem cells by pressing Y. It's really quite scary but satisfying when you pull it off. And this was definitely one of my most favoured things to do early on in the game. Erebus or Eurobus tokens are used to buy weapons and also upgrade them. Now, don't miss out on that menu, as you can also upgrade weapons in the same place, and you access this by just pressing R at the weapon maker machine. Now, while there are a number of weapons and gadgets, when you perish you do lose them all, but when you begin your next run, these upgrades and weapons that you've previously unlocked on your previous run will be available again when you next find that machine to make those weapons, which are dotted all around the map, so it won't take you too long. I also wanted to point out that on any given run, any resources you do collect are banked and are kept for your next upcoming runs. Now, each time you do die, you'll reprint a new clone of yourself and potentially an improved version. You always begin in the recovery room, and you can use this to upgrade some of your stuff before you start your next run. There's some things here which honestly surprise me in terms of the game's quality. First of all, it is a slower type of game. You move around slower, checking each room with the use of your scanner, which uses dark matter to see if anything is moving around with a quick button press. You can see if there's anything hiding behind walls. Now, these enemies, such as the blind lister, are adept to listening for noise, so you need to be ultra quiet around them. Also, you need to be careful when you use your flashlight, things like that. And if you've picked up a gun, you can of course plant a nice headshot if that's more your style. Maybe you like close combat feel. Well, you can buy a baton and batter them to death. I preferred stealth and using my stem cell harvester to harvest their stem cells, which I could use for upgrades. Now, one of my favourite weapons was definitely the Valkyrie though. It's a nice silent weapon and kills enemies with a nice silent shot and doesn't, alert any of the enemies around them when you kill them. Ammo is short on these weapons, however, so whenever I did get the chance for the weapon terminal to research, I would craft more. And the great thing about these weapon terminals is they've got a cooldown, so as long as you're prepared to wait, you can just use it again and again and again. Either way, the combat really did feel satisfying, and you have options such as putting up a shield too, or you're able to teleport a small distance away. There's a lot that you can do here if your health takes a battering. The enemies are pretty intense and scary in such confined spaces, even more so by being on a ship dripping in atmosphere. There are differing kinds of enemies too, each with their differing strengths and weaknesses. Some are quick, some will scudder around hiding behind walls only to jump out at you when you least expect it, and others are massive and will not be taken down easily with a melee attack. Another thing that I did love about this game is a simple use of the UI and the pickup system. Here you move a blue circle around the screen. When it touches another circle, it will open doors. If you touch ammo, it will automatically pick it up. And these touches made it just so much better than having to press a button every time you want to pick something up. And I'm sure that these UI touches were made due to the game being made for VR, but it translates really well onto the Switch. It's a shame the touchscreen wasn't utilized more, however. There is HD rumble, and that's nicely used here. For those wanting motion controls though, sadly it's not an option. I know a lot of you out there love the motion in the ocean. Now the game presents a challenge too, because each time you die and then restart, the ship's rooms will be rearranged. Sure, it can all look a little generic and samey, but it did not detract from the claustrophobic gameplay. I wanted to mention that one of the weapons I found, called the Ivy Serum, was super cool, and there's lots of little surprises here. I don't want to mention them all to spoil it, but this Ivy Serum is where you turn an enemy to a friend, and it will follow you, killing anything it comes into contact with. And it was the one time I felt a little bit protected, like someone had my back and I wasn't going to be surprised from some beast in the next corner. It was a nice little bit of respite, but there are other cool weapons and gadgets you're really going to enjoy using here and finding, and loads of tech to please those of you that are big into your sci-fi, and I especially enjoyed this part very much. Now, like many roguelikes, the game does become more enjoyable as your character becomes stronger. You begin to formulate strategies using the map strewn throughout the ship, and as you make your way down the 5 decks of the ship, some enemies will take you by surprise, but the next time you're going to understand how to deal with them. While it's not so much about the game's story that drives you, the gameplay is compelling enough that I wanted to keep going until I managed just about to reach the end. Persistence is definitely the key word. It is required, and a very apt name for this game. Now, let's talk about this audio, because honestly, if you want the truth, I was shitting myself. Excuse my French, but if you put on some headphones and I was in Alien Resurrection all over again. What is it about ships like this, those metal banging sounds, the internals of a ship groaning as you traverse it, the abominations within that you can hear but cannot see, which is more terrifying to your imagination than the bugger when he starts to run out at you 100 miles an hour only for you to panic and bash it as much as you can till it won't move. And the sound of those nasty mutated flesh taking a beating, it just makes you feel all really uneasy, vulnerable, like something will come out at any minute and end you. And each deck of the ship has new enemy types, each with their own sound, and honestly, listening out for them will put the frighteners on you. The music, the backing music, is not really music, it's just kind of tension built up with stringed instruments, and does the job really, really well. The weapons sound great, and the music, as I say, is just dripping with atmosphere and tension, and it made the palms of my hands sweaty, honestly. There's also some good voice work here. Take a listen to some of these clips just to get an idea of what the atmosphere is like here.
You've got incoming. This will wait.
Throughout my playthrough, the game ran at a stable 30 frames per second. I had no performance issues here with either docked mode or in handheld. One thing I did want to mention though was the controls at times. You know, when you're moving your character sort of left and right, you can change the sensitivity, but sometimes this gave it a little bit of a problem. It wasn't all the time, but my character would sort of spin one way or another, and it seemed like it was a little bit of a bug that I couldn't get rid of. But as I say, it was a minor problem that only happened from time to time. Value wise, you're looking at $22.49. If you pre-order, then it will go up to $24.99 in the UK, and in the US you're looking at $26.99 and the EU respectively. Now I think the game is priced very well actually for what you get here. You'll get around 12 to 16 hours before game completion, dependent on your skill level. I very much enjoyed the experience and feel that it's very worthwhile port on the Switch system, and also if you are interested, while it is delayed, there is a physical version coming to the system. So is the persistence worth your hard-earned cash? Only you can answer that if this is your type of game and you're into horror. The persistence for me though was a surprise. When I heard it was a VR port, I thought maybe this is going to be a game that's going to be too short and simple, but it isn't. The game offers horror fans a very good survival horror experience, and while roguelikes are not for everybody's taste, it certainly works very well here and was compelling enough to keep me cloning back. A solid 8 out of 10 from me, ladies and gentlemen. If you're still watching, thank you for supporting our channel. I want to thank all of our subscribers and members. We appreciate all of the support, whether you're watching, subbing, hitting that like button, and even that dislike button. At least you are engaging with us, which we very much appreciated. Please remember that our videos are made in our free time, so if you can share this with a friend or a family member and pass on the love, we'd really appreciate that very much indeed. If you are new here, please remember, hit that subscribe button and bell notification. We do make a lot of content here at Switchwatch, and every Saturday I take a look at the upcoming games for the week after. Sunday, James takes a look at all of the best bargains that you can get on the Nintendo Switch, and our man Jordan on Monday takes a look at everything that is releasing physical. So if you love your physical games, be sure to tune in then. My name's Juan Romero from Switchwatch, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great week, and I'll see you again on Saturday with our upcoming games episode. Take care, everyone. See you soon.